down the tree because he's fertilizing his own tree via his waste. Again, dumb idea. If you let it rip from anywhere in the canopy of the tree, it's going to land above the root system of the tree, so net effect of zero. So the actual reason why he comes down is the sloth-moth symbiotic relationship. Now it's a little Dr. Seuss while I try to say sloth, moth, moss, moss, moth, sloth, and not screw them up, but bear with me. So there is a type of moth in the world called a sloth moth that lives nowhere on Earth except in the fur and in the waste pile of a sloth. So the sloth is going to have 100 to 150 moths crawling all through his fur all of the time when he's in the rainforest. Not here, praise the Lord. So, and I said symbiotic. Symbiotic means beneficial to both sides of the equation, where parasitic would be beneficial to one, neutral or harmful to the other. But it is symbiotic. So the benefit to the moth is that the sloth is the food source and the living environment of the moths. So the sloth is going to be all covered up in all of this moss and algae. The moths are feeding on that moss and algae, and then they're fertilizing the moss and algae via their waste. The only reasons that the sloth will leave the moth in its lifetime are to drink water that pools up in the leaves of the rainforest, up in the canopy, and to get into the waste pile to lay its eggs. And I just realized I forgot something.
Yeah.
Yeah, milk. I was supposed to bring down milk for the baby llama. Oops.
Oh.
It's for its lunch, not for its breakfast. So it already had its breakfast. Fear not. So the benefit to the moth. I mean, nice catch. Good hands. My goodness. Got a baseball player coming up. So the benefit to the sloth is that as the moths fertilize all that moss and algae all in his fur, it is giving him more disguise in the top of the rainforest from things that hunt him. The next benefit to the sloth is that as the sloth grooms himself, he licks up a certain amount of the moths themselves. That is a protein source for the sloth. In fact, it's his only protein source. Then third, as the sloth grooms himself, he licks up a certain amount of the waste of the moths. And that is the key for the sloth. The sloth, as he licks up the waste of the moths, he is getting his gut bacteria from the waste of the moths. Now, we also have helpful gut bacteria. Our gut bacteria will last throughout our lives unless we take a long course of antibiotics. If we take a lot of antibiotics, we need probiotics or some good Greek yogurt, one or the other. The sloth can't get to GNC. He's never heard of Publix, so he is not getting probiotics, nor is he getting Greek yogurt. So his replacement gut bacteria come from the moths. The sloth in captivity does not require the moths. Thank goodness. No one would want to live with all these moths crawling all over the place, and you sure wouldn't want to hold them in your lap. So the reason he does not need the moths, he'll just drop that if you put it in his hand. Just got to put it in his mouth.
Okay.
And he's not looking to bite you, so just don't stick your hand in his mouth. His teeth are massive.
They are.
Yeah, if you were a scientist who dug up the skeleton of a sloth and you did not know what the animal was, you would almost certainly come up with an apex predator notion of this animal. This is the skeleton of a modern two-fingered sloth. Observe that, oops. This is just a Google search, but observe the teeth on the sloth, the claws on the sloth. His arms are longer than his entire body. His legs are longer than his arms. He's got 46 ribs, 23 sets of ribs. This dude is built like a truck. And so that is a two-fingered sloth. The three-fingered sloth is far more slightly built. So the three-fingered sloth, remember I said he turns his neck so much more? That's because that's the structure of his neck. I mean, obviously that's meant to move all around. He's got far fewer ribs and he's got a tail. And his legs See how short they are compared to the three fingered. His arms are long, but his legs are really short.
Interesting.
So they are very different animals. They don't crossbreed. So so if you dug the skeleton of that dude up and you didn't know what a sloth was, you'd be saying this guy is screaming around the rainforest like a howler monkey, just laying waste to everything in sight. Not saying here's a slow, peaceful animal that was spending his entire life hiding from everything. So anyway, so these in captivity, they do not require the moths because there is nothing hunting him here. He doesn't need the camouflage. His protein comes from hard-boiled eggs. He doesn't need the protein. And what kills our gut bacteria is antibiotics. What kills his gut bacteria is cold temperature. So if you have a captive sloth, you never, ever, never, ever, never let the sloth get cold, and his gut bacteria will last throughout his life. And
what's too cold?
we only let him outside if it's above 70, because the nighttime low in the rainforest is about 69 in the coldest season of the year. 69 is really as low as it tends to get in the rainforest. So we only let him outside if it's above 70, and we only leave the door open for him to stay outside if it's above 75.
Okay.
And in this room it stays between 77 and 80 every day of the year. And we do have a primary and a secondary and a tertiary heat system for these spaces where the sloths are.
Yeah.
So they will never
failure
get
or
cold.
anything like that, yeah.
Say what?
So there's no failure of anything, so they're always
Yeah. We have, we have volunteer energy, and then we have backup generators, and then we have propane. So one way or the other, we're going to keep the sloths warm.
Right.
So the other things we haven't talked about with a sloth, his eyes, if you look closely here, he's just got pinpricks where his pupils are, right? So his eyes are better in the night than they are in the day, but his vision is horrible all the time. He has a structure of his eyes called rod monochromacy. So he sees only in grayscale. This sloth cannot see the difference between me and you.
Okay.
But what his eyes are well designed for is to detect motion. Anything that's coming toward a sloth is bad for a sloth. Get to the end of the branch and stay safe. So it's like he's wearing night vision goggles all the time. If you've ever seen on television the way that it looks looking through night vision goggles, that's the way a sloth sees. So you don't really see objects well, you just see motion. And so he sees motion very well, and end of the branch, end of the branch, end of the branch. So, and they are generally toward the end of the branches anyway, because they eat the leaves at the ends of the branches because the cellulose walls are less hard in the newer leaves. And if any toxicity was going to build up in the leaves, it would be at the ones up at the base of the tree before it would be the newer leaves at the end of the tree, or the end of the branches.
Right.
I guess the tree doesn't really have an end, but the ends of the branches. And so that's how he stays safe. And this guy is designed from the beginning, start to finish, created to be an upside down animal. So for example, if he's eating leaves at the end of a branch, he can't very well go out the branch like this and then to eat. And he's got to come out like this and hang from the branch where he's eating. And his claws. So if we were going to try to hang on this branch, a minute would be a long time to do a 2-arm hang. Sloth can hang here for days. That's because his tendons are super tight. So when he is hanging in the tree, he is exerting no energy at all to hang there, because this is the relaxed state. So exertion is to pry his hands open, because the tightness of the tendons springs them back shut, right? So this is exertion, this is relaxation, the opposite that we are. So in fact, if the sloth's life ended while hanging in a tree, he would not fall, because this is just completely relaxed. He's exerting no energy at all to hang in that tree. So the sloth also, I showed you the picture with all the ribs, 46 ribs, 23 sets of ribs. So for us, our guts are sitting in our pelvis, upper bounded by our diaphragm, and so that is the way we are. Everything's kind of loose in there. And if you stood on your head or somebody put you on one of these inversion tables for a couple of hours, you're going to get short of breath as your body cavity puts pressure on your diaphragm. Hey, Bubba, how we doing, buddy? I am this sloth person. I've been with him at least an hour a day for almost 4 years now.
How old
So
is he?
he's 6.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's a cool guy. But so the sloth though has connective tissue going all back and forth between his organs and his rib cage, so that no matter if he's hanging, vertically upside down, horizontally upside down, whether he's laying on his back, laying on his belly, whether he's hanging on a tree like this, you almost never see him on these videos hanging because we don't have an up and down branch in here, but in there he does all the time, hang right side up.
Does he?
So no matter what body position he's in, his organs remain in the position and the orientation that they should be in, no matter what his body position is. And people ask how he can swallow upside down. Well, we can swallow upside down too, just fine. Peristalsis, that's what brings our food from the back of our mouth to our stomach. He's got the same, although it does come down and go all the way around and then into his stomach. But so he's got a lot longer path to take to get there. But he does have a check valve. If this is the entrance to his stomach, he's got one way that food goes in, but it doesn't come back out. So if he hung upside down for a long time, his food isn't going to leach back out, up into his throat,
Right.
like acid reflux or something like that. So guy is absolutely created from the beginning with the intent of being an upside down animal that feeds on the food that nothing else in the rainforest wants, the leaves at the ends of the branches, and to survive on very limited calorie and nutrition budget. So he is a super well designed animal. Did you have questions about a sloth I didn't talk about today?
So, how did you acquire him?
I bought him from a breeder who supplies zoos. So this guy is different than the other sloths that are here. The other ones came from a breeder who supplies ambassador animals. And both the breeders that I have dealt with will only sell to people that are licensed at zoos. I always do a disclaimer every time on a live to say, please don't look at what we're doing here, especially when we're holding the sloths, and think it's a good idea to go out and buy a sloth. It is absolutely not. There is no reputable breeder who will sell you a sloth if you're not licensed as a zoo, even though it's legal. It is legal.
Sure, it is.
It's just a horrible idea. And because there is a lot of knowledge that goes into keeping sloths, and there's a lot of money that goes into keeping sloths.
Sure.
And so if you find a sloth that is for sale on the internet, you are getting an animal that was stolen from the rainforest. And those animals tend to have a lifespan of approximately 2 months because the stress of it just ends them. And the sloths in the rainforest, they think, live about 20 years, but this is theoretical. Nobody's ever observed one from birth to end of life by natural cause. I mean, they're hard to find and hard to track. Although there are a lot of collared tracked sloths now. We actually have the bracelets here from fallow, however they say that you track a real living sloth in the rainforest. Be surprised how much they move, sometimes as much as a mile in a day. But I was very surprised. But the lifespan of a captive bred sloth who's properly cared for is about 50.
Really?
So yeah, it is not at all uncommon for prey animals to live much longer in captivity than in the wild, because as they age, they're easier for hunters to get, and it is harder for them to source enough food to keep themselves going. And in captivity, nothing hunts them, and we bring their food to them.
Yeah.
So, for instance, our iguana is at least 18 years old. They say max lifespan on one is 12. Our kangaroos in the wild, a male kangaroo is lucky to make 5 years. Here they live 20. So, but hunting type animals tend to live shorter, and I personally think that's because most places that are feeding that type of animal feed them meat instead of feeding them the entire animal. And I think, this is just my personal opinion, take it or leave it, I think that the fact that they don't eat the entire animal affects how much nourishment they get from it.
Interesting.
I personally think that's why predator type animals tend to live shorter in captivity, and prey type animals tend to live longer in captivity. Because we look at things that a prey animal eats, and we're like, oh, cool, let's give him some of that. And you look at what a predator animal would naturally eat, and you're like, ugh,
Yeah.
let's give him the good stuff.
Right.
And,
Which they really needed on. Are you sleeping in your house?
yeah. So this guy is all about his encounters. So this is actually his room in here. He does not live in this space.
Right.
And all these smears are on his side of the glass. If I'm 1 minute late to his encounter,
He starts licking the window.
yeah, he has an internal clock going, and so he'll be smearing his nose all over the glass. And then by the time I'm 5 minutes late, he'll be beating the door like this.
Really? That's awesome. Well, it goes up high.
Yeah, it goes up 20-some feet. He's got hammocks, he's got trees. He's got his inside, he's got his outside. Oh, the big window that's up there is the camel condo.
Okay.
That's the space above this that you can rent and have a sloth for a roommate.
Like, to like stay?
Yeah, that's 2,300 square feet, 3 king
Oh,
suites, 2
really?
bunk rooms.
Huh.
Has hidden secret bunk rooms, picture window to the sloth, glass windows in the bunk rooms that look down in camel stalls and kangaroo stalls. It's all that.
Neat.
But you have to book it really far in advance. And but because I was enlisted my first 10 years in the military, I couldn't afford to take my family to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that is why we are priced the way that we are priced. Is now that I'm sort of a little bit on the other side of that, I want everyone to be able to come and do the things that we do and
Sure.
enjoy the things that we enjoy. So it would cost you more to sleep 10 people in Motel 6 than it would to rent the coolest thing on earth.
That's awesome.
And that's why my sloth encounters are, I mean, they still are kind of pricey,
Right.
but compared to other ones that are out there, they're,
Sure.
you know, value priced.
So is this your, like, you guys started it, or you are?
Oh, that's my wife's, yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Or is Donna your wife?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so they're on the phone. Okay, so y'all started it together.
Mm-hmm.
It's the
Yeah,
only-
she's the brains of the outfit.
Okay.
I'm the pooper scooper.
Well, whatever works, man. It takes two,
Yeah.
right? What branch were you in?
Navy.
Okay, my dad's a retired colonel in the Air Force.
Oh, cool.
Which you should know that now. He asked me a whole bunch. My other daughter sent him a bunch of questions to ask me on the way here, and the title was 60 Questions to Ask Your Grandparents Before They Die.
Before they die,
Yes.
wow, they're planning ahead.
Yeah, I mean, apparently. But anyway, so he was learning all about history of the family.
My son-in-law is in the Air Force in Aviano, Italy right now.
Mhm.
So my daughter, that's where she's living. That's why 2 of the kangaroos outside are named Tamani and Alora.
Cute.
And my son is in Army. He is on his way back to Fort Campbell from Arizona right now.
Okay.
And
Were you
yeah.
ever stationed abroad,
no,
naval-wise?
no, Navy. I spent 6 years of my life at sea.
Oh.
So I've been to 70 or 80 countries. If it touches water, likely I've been.
Yeah.
But and I did backpack around Europe for a few months one time. Back when, for military guys, a Euro over El Paso was $20 for a month for no matter where it goes.
Right.
Ride it all you want. That was pretty awesome.
We were stationed at the naval base in Keflavik when I was growing up. My dad was he was Air Force, but they had one detachment that was air rescue, and he helicopter pilot, and he was commander of that squadron. So we lived in Iceland for
Cool.
in the early '80s, long time ago.
Long days, long nights.
Mhm, for sure. So sweet.
I have not been to Iceland.
Yeah.
2 places left that I need to get to. I have never dived on the Great Barrier Reef, and I have never been to either Iceland or Greenland.
Okay. Are you guys from this area originally? Or?
No, I've lived in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, North, South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, 20 years in Virginia, and now here. And this is what I like.
Okay.
But most people live one place their whole life, join the military, and move all over. I was the opposite. My dad was a Baptist preacher, so I never lived anywhere in my life more than 3 years. And then I joined the Navy, and I was stationed in Norfolk, Virginia, the whole time except for 1 year of nuclear power school, which was in Orlando, Florida, and then Charleston, South Carolina, and then 1 year of flight school, which was in Pensacola, Florida.
Okay. We're in Illinois.
You know, I don't necessarily remember.
Were you little?
I was little. The thing I remember about Illinois is the blizzard of '78.
I lived there then.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
My dad was the preacher. The church was across the street from our house, and the church was so buried by snow that we could walk up the hill, up the church, all the way to the steeple and ride our sleds
That's
more than
awesome.
half a mile to the bus stop,
That's awesome.
up the street. And they delivered food on snowmobiles for more than a month. And the Red Cross had the National Guard had snow blowers with a 12-foot blade on them. And they had to take 2 passes because the snow was deeper than that right around our house. And I remember my mom waking us up at 3 a.m. to run the garage door up to shovel snow into the garage so we could get out to the roof of the house.
Wow.
And we're like, Mom, there's nowhere to go anyway. And
So-
she's like,
Yeah, how old are you?
55.
All right, well, I'll be 55 in May. We're the same
Oh, okay. Oh, my birthday's May 8th.
age. Oh, mine's May 11th.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'll be 55.
Small world.
It is a small world. Hi.
Hey. We ready for the next
I
group?
believe so. I got to talking, so we're a little over.
Oh, I got to talking to Chatty Cathy, which is me. But don't worry, we start late, we end late. You won't miss any of your time. So, are we on? Are you guys on VIP?
Yeah, we're doing the.
All
soft
right, so you're
circles.
going in there.
Perfect. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Yeah, thank you.
Come on in.
All right.
Got 2 in there, 2 chairs.
I
All
do,
right.
yes.
Baku is super interactive today, so
He's hungry. Scurrying.
Is
We don't
that
have
his
his
issue?
food. Yeah.
I had
Sorry,
him
guys.
crawling in my shoes to the point that I had to put him
You had to
out.
put him away.
Hey guys, come on in. I'm sure does anybody tell you we're live on pretty much everything all the time? You're not here with your girlfriend instead of your wife, witness protection, nothing like that?
Yeah,
All right, okay, say what?
she'll have to tell you about it later.
It's a good story.
Oh, okay. All right, well, if you're not gonna get me banned on TikTok, you can tell me.
No. So we go into town and there's a sign that says Ramp Tramp Festival.
Oh, yeah, huh?
Okay, so being from Ohio and I go out with a buddy, we go boat.
Oh, I'm right behind you. Sorry about that.
We're there in the middle of the. We're there in the middle of the day. So we go out to boat, and my buddy says,
I'm sorry, 1 second. This is the
That's
third time this person. Hello. Yes. Hey, good. How are you? Right. It is. Oh, okay. I'm in encounter right now. Let me get somebody to come take over what I'm doing, and I'll buzz the gate. Meet me at the red barn with the white roof. All right. All right. The volunteer energy engineer is here. I lived in Ohio for 5 years myself. Tip City, Ohio.
Tip City, yeah,
Not far from us.
a little north.
Where you guys from?
Oxford.
Okay. When I was 14, I drove a semi in Ohio. Farm license, I was the only person legal to drive it.
Yep.
Hey, can you do the sloth encounter here? I have the volunteer energy engineer here that I need to go meet with for a few minutes. Alright. Yeah, Tatum's on VIP and the other people, I run late, I just started sloth, but I shouldn't be long with the engineer. Alright, thanks, Mike. Okay, so Ramp Tramp, boating in
So,
Ohio.
Yeah, so this guy tells me, he said, there'll be girls out there in their bikinis waiting there. They'll just get on whatever boat goes out. I said, well, maybe that's the ramp tramps they're talking about.
So I'm sure she told you what the
Yeah.
ramps are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Green onions are a little
Yeah.
different than bikini
Just
girls,
a
right?
slight bit.
Yeah, small difference there. So yeah, I lived in Tip City, Ohio from 1981 through 85. There used to be a huge brown horse farm right on the side of 75 right there called Woodburn and Hines Arabians. That was where I worked. And they had horses in that barn that were valued up to $30 million.
That's crazy.
And that was before the tax laws changed in 1989. Prior to that, you could sell, you could write off anything on your taxes that you spent on a horse as if it was a medical expense for a child
Wow.
or any other dependent. So we had, you know, Bruce Willis and Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze and all these other A-list celebrities buying horses that they never even came to see just for the tax write-off.
Yeah.
And you know, we're living the life of Riley, running around spending other people's money,
There you go.
and it was a lot of fun.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, that's for sure.
Is our food still?
Yeah. I see you guys are firefighters.
Just him.
As always.
Yeah.
Zoe's.
Thanks.
Apparatus. What kind of apparatus?
You name it. Ladder truck, quint, engine, squad, whatever
Yeah.
needs driven, I drove it.
When I was a kid, I used to think to sit in the back with that
Tiller.
one that swings around would have been just the ultimate thing on earth.
Yeah, they had one of those, but they took that out of service before I got hired.
Looked like they'd be hard to drive.
Didn't somebody
No,
run it into a building?
Yeah, they ran into the office.
Yeah.
No, actually, I think they'd probably be easier than what you think. You drive opposite of what you want to, you know. You're gonna go
Yeah,
to
yeah.
the right, you go to the left.
All right, I know you have a Zoom at 11. I'll be back as soon as I can.
All right.
And I haven't started with them. We start late, we run late. I'll be back as soon as I
All
can.
good. Look, we got back together.
Yeah.
How awesome was that? You got Flash hanging up there above you. Has John given you guys any rules or anything yet?
Nothing.
Awesome. Okay. So the biggest rule is when you're feeding him, don't put your finger in his mouth. Don't put your finger in my mouth. What you guys do with each other, that's up to you. But don't put your finger in the sloth's mouth because they can't see. So they have horrible vision. So when you're feeding him this,
Yeah.
he's just opening his mouth. When you pet him, you just want to do long, slow pets, and he's totally okay with that. What he doesn't like is don't do that scrunching that you do to cats because he'll just pull up in a ball and be like, I'm not into this.
Yeah.
So even though we want to treat him like a rookie, we can't. When you go to feed him, it's going to look like this. And you can stay there if you want, sir. It's totally up to you. Sometimes he gets a little particular. We're going to tease him with a little bit of fruit here. So this is apple slices. Hey, Flash. Hey, bud. So because they have horrible vision, they have great hearing and a great sense of smell. So he can definitely be like, is that one I want to eat or not? So green beans, sweet potato, squash, and zucchini. His favorite is going from fruit, probably green beans, sweet potato, then the other. So if he doesn't like one, you can try the other. And as soon as he finishes one, you can go to the next, and I will bore you guys with a bunch of facts. I'm gonna make sure
Can I
these.
take pictures?
Oh, as many as you want. You can take pictures, video,
Oh,
and if you drop it, just leave it on the ground. So Flash is a two-toed sloth. There's also three-toed. The reason we don't have any three-toed or three-fingered sloths is that they require the leaves of the sarcopia tree to eat. Okay. They've tried to bring in three-toed before, and it doesn't work really well because their gut can't handle switching. Sloths are very, very sensitive to temperature. They need to be at between 75 to 80 degrees. So he could actually die with a full stomach of food, but the bacteria that lives inside him to process the food could get too cold and make him die because he can't eat.
wow.
So every day they're gonna eat 10% of their body weight,
Hey, Flash.
and you can hold it right up to his nose because you're tall enough for. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he pretty much.
So he's like, try green bean. See his little snout start going? Is he going for it?
No, not yet. There he is.
Yeah, he loves them some green beans. And then if he starts getting kind of warmed up and loosening himself from that branch, you can start letting him kind of move this way a little bit, and he'll kind of get into it.
Is there anything special about these things that they actually, gut-wise, that they because they're upside down?
So, normally our esophagus just goes down and drops right into our stomach, right? His goes down and kind of loops around and actually has a check valve in it. But a lot of people ask, like, how does he swallow upside down? Same way we could swallow upside down. Peristalsis, right? That ability for the muscles to clench down
Yeah.
and move the food down.
Oh,
Birds-
you want some more?
Oh yeah, he gets into green beans. So birds don't have peristalsis, so when the swan puts its head down and they kind of shake their head to get the food down, so they don't have peristalsis. But sloths, mammals just like us, they can do it.
Wow, this thing is much bigger than what I thought it would be. In fact, I came in, I didn't even see it sitting there.
Yeah.
I wondered why you just sat down and.
I didn't even realize it, and then when I looked up, I actually thought it was a doll or something.
Uh-huh. A lot of people, they're like, oh, what? And I'm like, no, it's right above
Yeah.
you.
Oops.
It's alright. Just let it chill. So even though they're eating 10% of their body weight every single day, they only use the bathroom every 7 to 10 days.
Wow.
Okay? And when they use the bathroom, they lose 30% of their body weight. So imagine if you weigh 200 pounds, losing 60, that'd be a big chunk.
A huge jump.
Yeah. And so they come down out of the tree, pretty much in the same place every time, and they get their booty all the way on the ground, and they do a little dance, and they're getting their butt basically on their poop pile. And the reason they're doing that is they're getting the sloth moth up onto their fur. So in the wild, they would have between 100 to 200 bugs living all over them and covered in algae. But when they're grooming themselves, that's when they get the bacteria on their claws and then they ingest it. So that's what keeps their bacteria system going, because that's how they process their food. We use enzymes. So they're pretty special. So how we monitor that is basically the poop. So we consider ourselves poopologists, right?
Yeah.
So if we're like, oh, it's really dry, it's not doing what it should, we would up the fruit intake, because fruit has fructose, which speeds up bacterial growth. If it was really, really runny or whatever, we'd maybe decrease the amount of cucumber that he's eating and decrease the fruit, because it sped up that bacterial process too much. If his bacterial count got way out of whack and was like almost non-existent, like he had very solidified poop, you could restart it with a probiotic. If that didn't work, then you'd go to a real live biotic. If that still doesn't work, you do a fecal transfer, which means you take the fecal matter from another healthy sloth, dry it, kind of grind it up, put it in stuff, and restart his bacteria that way.
Wow.
So when people are like, I'm just gonna go get a sloth, and I'm like, it's not a lab that you can
don't
grab
want
food
that
at Dollar General.
Right.
I'm like, don't do it.
So how many times a day does he eat?
So he really eats just here in the morning, and then at night he'll have some salad. And so just on the other side of this, there's 2 bowls,
Yeah.
and so he always has access to water. And then we'll put like spinach and stuff in there for the evenings.
And I can.
Oh yeah, you can pet him whenever you want. Softer than you think, huh?
It looks like it'd be a brush.
Yeah.
Like a. Now, do they like affection?
So Flash is definitely wants to be around us. So before Flash was here, he was at a facility where he was only ever even viewed behind a window. So that was it. So it took John 2 years of just feeding him every day. And then eventually Flash was like, oh, I'm gonna come out here and hang out with you. So now, even after we finish an encounter, sometimes we'll leave this door open because this is where Flash lives. And sometimes he'll just come back out and be like, what are you guys doing? So he's not near as social as Zoe. Zoe, on the other hand, as soon as she sees him, she's like, what are you doing? Like moving her arms and stuff.
Yeah.
He
Is
doesn't.
it annoying?
It's when she like kind of touches his claw, he's like, what is that? You know? When her door is open, he will make a beeline just to look around. Like he's like, what is this place? Is it new?
Something new.
Yep. And once it's 75, 80 degrees, we open that second door, and so he can go all the way outside.
Okay.
And we just connect it with that stick that's leaning down, so it drops into that rope sling.
Oh, okay.
And so then that way he just lumberjacks out. And a lot of people always say, oh, how do you pick him up and move him out here? Just that little tiny trim piece. He reaches through the door, just this right here. He just puts his claw on it. And he's
I
just,
was just getting ready to say, do you have to put him,
No.
bring him out and put him up
we've
there?
never held Flash. If he wants to be held, we'll go for it. But he's never made that move, and he's been like right beside us. He runs his claws through my hair when I'm sitting here feeding. It's hilarious. I always say that if I have a bad hair day, it's his fault.
It's like he's
You can run
shy.
your clothes through my hair.
When he comes out and he's hungry in the morning, anybody that's here, he's like, what do you got? Do you have any food? He's like, I'm here.
How old is he?
Flash is 7 years old. So in the wild, most sloths only make it to about 20 or 30
Yeah, you
years.
smell that, don't you?
But in captivity, the 2 oldest living sloths were in Germany, and that was Jan and Paula, and they made it to 52 and 54
Wow.
years old. So we're pretty excited that Flash will probably outlive us.
First time I see him grab food with his claw.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he doesn't, wants to make sure he don't, that's apple.
Yeah.
Wants to make sure he don't lose any of that apple.
And he loves any fruit. So we've given him mango several times and he smears it all over his face. He's just like,
So, look, now all of a sudden, now you want to see what's going on, huh? It's almost like he's hiding up there. He put his head like, leave me alone.
yeah. We're gonna redo his track because I think a lot of times he likes just to kind of hang out over there because it terminates there. But I'm gonna make it more of a racetrack. That way it doesn't feel like he's like stuck. That way he can like do loose. And the next one you go to feed him, do you have any more fruit left?
That was, I think that was probably the last piece.
Well, you might be able to tempt him with a green bean, but the next here actually I'll do it so that there we go. You don't feel bad. Hey buddy, you want to come down here a little bit?
That's why we moved his box over. And she will be, and they'll go, the other day, I videoed it. And it was a minute and 10 seconds long.
Good boy, Flash.
Full screen. Where they store it.
So a lot of people ask how can they hang like that. So their relaxed state is pretty much how his claws are now. You want to come down?
And her food is like, turns that ball.
You gonna hang down, buddy? I'll go and get it out.
Yeah,
So once he decides to hang down, you can really see how flexible his spine is, so he can rotate at least 180 degrees. So it'll keep his hips forward. But like what I was saying with his claws, a lot of people ask like, how can he do that? How can you say? So it's relaxed for him to be clamped down like that. When he goes to open, he has to actually think and then move. So the way his tendons and muscles are set up are basically backwards of ours. So they could actually die in the tree, be curled up and clenched, and stay there until they get knocked out. Like knocked loose from the tree.
You don't want that green bean?
Do they ever get angry?
Not with us. Zoe, and you can just feed him something else. Just try a different veggie. Sweet potato sometimes does it. Yeah. Oh. Okay, go fast. Here you go. Let me grab it. Hey, Flash.
So,
Let's try sweet potato.
does he not pee or?
Every 7 to 10 days.
Okay, so he pees and poops at the same time.
Uh-huh. And part of the reason for that is they're trying to avoid predators, right?
Yeah.
And then we believe in God. So if you don't, that's fine. But the fact that the sloth moth and the sloth are both there at the same time and they depend on each other, right? It's pretty amazing. It's like, I don't think that could just randomly happen, you know? So if the sloth moth didn't exist, they couldn't exist because they wouldn't have the bacteria. If they didn't exist, that hoop wouldn't always be there at the bottom of the tree for the sloth or the sloth moth to live in.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty amazing. Hey, bud. How you doing? I got some sweet potatoes. It's pretty good. We'll give him a little bit. He'll loosen up. And then he'll kind of start climbing around. But you can pet him whenever you want, even when he's hanging out over there. So the differences with the names, you hear a lot of people, they always say two-toed sloth or two-fingered. The reason we're trying to say fingers versus toes is it's not really like they have 4 legs, it's they have front arms and back legs. So it's kind of a misnomer when people are like, oh, it's a two-toed, where like, oh, that's really like their front limbs.
Yeah.
See how he kind of hangs down? I think he does that like just stretch himself out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's crazy.
Uh-huh. Hey, you can go right here so you can see him better. Are you guys doing the one with Zoe too? Awesome. I love it.
Well, I guess it's the VIP.
Mm-hmm. She cuddles right up to you.
Yeah, I read it. Said she likes to put her chin, or put her head right up under
Yeah.
her chin.
Sometimes she has a little bit of the snackies going on, so she wants to get some munches in. But after that, she'll snuggle right in.
Reed, step over here.
Happy petting.
And they almost act like two completely different animals. He's kind of like your curmudgeon-y old guy, you know, and she's like this spirited 12-year-old or something. It's like, hey, 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 how's it going?
It's kind of crazy. I walked in here and I didn't even see that thing. I guess maybe it was blended in.
Yeah. And what we'll do is when we get close to the end time is we'll open up this door. So this door leads to a 2-story enclosure. So it goes all the way up and there's a plexiglass window. So if you're staying upstairs, you get the sloth for the roommate.
Gotcha.
So we'll open it up and he'll either go in there and I'll check the temperature. If it's warm enough, I'll put the stick in there and it's fun to be able to watch him climb. Because a lot of times, even if you go to Costa Rica or zoos or things like that, you're like, what's that ball of something, 200 yards away?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure I've seen them in the zoo, but you see them.
Yeah.
You don't get anywhere close.
We get a lot of funny comments. They always ask, whose toupee is hanging up there?
Yeah.
And when he's balled up, that's kind of what he looks like.
That's like I didn't realize the difference between a river otter and an ocean otter. And when I see the difference, like, holy moly.
One's way bigger, isn't it?
Oh, the ocean otter's huge.
Yeah.
He's like this long.
Yeah.
The little river otter I wouldn't worry much about, but the sea otter I wouldn't want to deal with.
Everybody wants us to get the river otters because you can do the swimming encounters with them.
Yeah.
But then it's like you still got to do the pool and everything else too. It's not just the animals.
I would imagine trying to keep all that
Clean.
because I see what they have to do with the penguins at the zoo. And it's horrible.
Yeah. It's pretty chill though.
It is very chill.
So a lot of times, so Costa Rica, they're working on, or they've already made it basically illegal to hold a sloth. And the reason that they did that is you have locals or people that need some money for whatever reason. So they see the cruise ships come in that have 2,000 or 3,000 people on them. They run out to the jungle, grab a sloth, dip it in bleach, and then charge everybody coming off the cruise ship 20, 30, 50 bucks. But what happens is that the sloth dies because it's been dipped in bleach and it kills all the bacteria and everything. So that's the reason Costa Rica's like, well, we're not going to hold sloths because they can't control everybody.
It's just typical.
Right.
Usually 1 or 2 people destroy it for everybody else.
A lot of times people ask, how do you know if you're going to a good encounter? So our sloths don't have that many encounters. Like Flash is doing 2 this morning, and that's pretty much it. Zoe does a little bit more because she actually gets held. But some people, I'm like, if you see that they're doing something every 15 minutes for 6 hours, that's not what a sloth wants to do.
Yeah.
Some places even pull their teeth because sloths don't, if you have a wild sloth or a sloth that's never been held, it doesn't want to be held. You're not going to convince it to be held. So they take an adult and they're like, oh, we're going to hold you and take your teeth out so you don't bite people. I think that's horrible and shouldn't be done.
So does he have a not a fast, but an accelerated slow movement if he feels he's in danger or?
It's not really danger. The biggest thing they'll do, and you'll notice it with Zoe, if she hears a loud noise or anything, she'll pull in tight to you because they can pull tight, but their extension is slow. But when he gets ready to go climb in, you'll be like, oh, he moves way faster than I thought. And if he's like, oh, I'm ready to go to bed, he can be up at the top in his hammock in, I don't know, 15 seconds. And I think that's without him really trying. So they track them with the fallow bracelets and different things like that in Costa Rica, and there was one sloth that they're like, how the heck is it moving this much every day? And what it was is a banana plantation, and they used zip lines to slide the bananas through, and he was just sitting on the banana clumps, riding the zip lines around.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Just getting a taxi ride,
Yeah.
Oh, it was pretty awesome.
I don't know, he's definitely bigger than what I thought he was going to be. I expected to be, like between a squirrel and that.
Oh yeah.
You did?
Yeah, I expected him to be a lot smaller than that. Really.
And I think Zoe's gonna be way bigger because her weight is probably already 12, 13 pounds, and she's only 16 months old.
Wow.
I'd say her core is already bigger than Flash's, but her limbs haven't grown out all the way yet, and her claws are still really small, and her teeth are still really small.
Yeah.
And there's been a couple people that have had captive sloth that get up to 30 pounds, and that's a big sloth. I was like, I might need a back brace.
I can't imagine anybody just owning one because I think they'd be so much.
Oh yeah.
They're not like a dog where you throw some food out and then You know, you go to work and you come home and he needs a little bit more food.
And it's like, you know, some people, they're like, oh, I might get a generator, you know, for this or that. It's like, you don't have a choice if you have a sloth, because if their environment gets out of whack,
Yeah.
they can die. It's not that they're gonna shiver, it's they're gonna die.
I love that. It's like he's hiding himself so that you can't see. It's crazy.
Let me see what time it is. I wanna.
Does he not feel different than what? I mean, he's like not like a wire brush, but
I say he's in between regular hair and beard hair.
yeah.
And someone else said feels very closely. You remember the troll dolls that little kids would have? Feels like that hair.
Yeah.
But it's not horrible. I mean, it's a lot softer than you'd imagine.
Well, I mean, I can tell you, this is kind of, to me, Coyote
Oh, okay.
has the same kind of hair.
Yeah.
Is that him? That's not him making noises, is it?
No.
He doesn't make noise, does he?
He doesn't hardly make any noise now. Zoe, on the other hand, is very vocal. If I go put her in the hammock after I've fed her, she's like, ooh, ooh, ooh. Or she'll like chase me out because she still wants to be held. And it's, I have an 8-year-old daughter and I'm a pushover, so I'm always like, okay, 5 more minutes. So,
Yeah.
not a bad gig though.
Yep.
So are you like a zoologist or what are you?
I read a lot and learn a lot of things, I guess maybe too quickly. So I do the social media and networking and business development and learn and talk. I don't know, maybe I'm unusual, but it's fun. Actually, I used to be an EMT also. So it's, I've done a bunch of different things. I like to learn.
Well, when it's something that you love.
It's a lot easier.
It's easy to learn.
Yeah. You know, some people get real fired up about it, you know, either talking about a car engine or their favorite purse or whatever. I'm like, hey, everybody can have their passion. It's easy to learn.
Oh, if everybody liked the same thing, we'd be a really boring people.
Exactly. I'm like, I don't want to talk to everybody just like me. That's boring.
This animal's nothing like what I expected. Nothing.
Yeah.
Like what I expected to see. Now I do notice it's 2 toes
Mhm.
in the front, 2 fingers in the front, and 3 in the back.
Correct.
Okay.
And so whether they're 2 or 3, it's the same number of digits on the back. But we're just working towards helping the general public work towards that 2 fingers because that's the real designation. How'd it go?
408 meter in the ground, $200.
That's a deal.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and throw another one and say we're gonna have Teslas from the whole area.
We'll talk to him. Did he not eat his breakfast here?
He was kind of he went through some of it. He finished the rest of the apple. He tried some green beans, and I didn't feed him hardly anything this morning. He had like 2 sticks.
Huh. Wonder why he's not hungry this morning.
So
Who knows?
we'll hear.
All right. I guess you're starting Zoom now, right?
But he definitely liked the apple.
Yeah.
He
That's for
does.
sure.
He's all about some fruit.
And
So
green
their bacteria colony in their stomach, though, is super critical to maintain it properly. Too much sugar, too much bacteria, kind of like thrush, you know, feeds on sugar. And too little sugar, not enough bacteria, makes them be stuck up. So yeah, the diet is critical to a sloth. But
I'd let them know that once he gets ready before they go to their next thing, they'd probably be able to watch him climb in and maybe even climb out. Just letting you know.
yeah, it's about to rain.
Oh yeah.
Funny thing, but I think it'll be a warm rain, so he might like to be out in it. But in Bladdock is driving back from Cleveland in heavy rain.
Mm. I'm working on getting that other certificate for us. It's agricultural use, but that's so if I text you and say I need that code, it's a different certificate for things that we use at the farm.
Oh, okay,
So, but I think we can get it because it's through Tin Tap, and that same lady will help me.
perfect, thanks. So
Y'all have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Some other things that he probably didn't get to yet on the sloth. The sloth has an eye structure called rod monochromacy. So I usually say it's similar to night vision goggles, but for you it'd be similar to a FLIR. That he detects motion very well. He doesn't see objects well at all. So he can't see the difference between me and either one of you, but his eyes detect motion. So anything that is moving toward a sloth is bad news for a sloth. So if something's moving toward the sloth, end of the branch, end of the branch, end of the branch. When he gets to the end of the branch, he's basically safe from almost everything. So the sloth's energy budget is so low that he doesn't maintain his body temperature. Kevin probably already told you this, right?
Nope.
Okay, so the sloth's energy budget, because of his diet, is so low that he does not even maintain his core body temperature. His daytime core body temperature can be 19 degrees Fahrenheit more than his nighttime core body temperature. So obviously I'm also a warm-blooded animal, and if my core body temperature went down by 19 Fahrenheit, the coroner would be using that information, but nobody else. And but he does not maintain his core body temperature at all, just whatever the outside air temperature is. So he also has no natural smell. He has no scent glands, no musk glands, no sweat glands, so there is no odor or smell to a sloth. So snakes hunt by smell and heat. So a snake absolutely can't find a sloth. The cats can get to the sloth, but when the sloth gets out to the end of the branch, the sloth weighs only 15 pounds, and a cat large enough to threaten his life is going to weigh, 60, 70, 80 pounds. So if the cat pressed the issue to the point that the branch broke and they both fell 100 feet all the way to the rainforest floor, the sloth will almost certainly survive, and the cat will almost certainly not. So the sloth will look over the cat and say, ha, ha, and back up the tree he will go. The one thing that can get to a sloth in the top of the tree is an eagle, and that is because the eagle has exceptionally good vision, and it doesn't rely on the strength of the branch to support its endeavors. The sloth is very hard for a cat even to find, because they're all covered up in the moss and algae all the time. But so he is almost entirely safe in the top of the tree, and yet the sloth comes down the same tree, same side of the tree every single time to go to the bathroom in the same place that he always goes. And so people used to think that sloths only lived in one tree or a very small set of trees. No, they just return to their waste pile. They might travel as much as a mile or two away from there, but return to the same place that they always go to the bathroom. The reason for that is the sloth-moth symbiotic relationship.
He was telling us that.
Oh yeah, okay. So sloths need moss, moss needs sloths. So the moths eat moss and algae that's all in the sloth's fur. There can be 100 to 150 of them living on a sloth all the time in the wild, not here, praise the Lord. But so the moth benefits because of the food source, the moss and algae. The sloth benefits in three distinct ways. The sloth benefits from greater camouflage because those moths are fertilizing the moss and algae via their waste. So the sloth gets far more camouflage, having the moths all in it. Camouflage both visually and by scent, because now it's got moss and algae all over it, so it smells like the rest of the rainforest.
Yep.
Instead of like a blank space in the middle of the forest, he smells like everything else smells. And visually, because he's hard to see with all this moss and algae. Second benefit is that as the sloth grooms himself, he licks up a certain amount of the moths themselves, and that is his protein source, and he licks up a certain amount of the waste of the moths. And the waste of the moths is what's absolutely critical to the sloth. So the waste of the sloth, the waste of the moths is how the sloth replenishes his gut bacteria colony. So we also have helpful gut bacteria. Our gut bacteria will last throughout our lives unless we take a lot of antibiotics, in which case we need probiotics or Greek yogurt. Sloth can't find GNC, he's never heard of Publix, so he's not getting any probiotics, he's not getting any Greek yogurt. So the sloth replenishes his gut bacteria via the waste of the moths. It is a proven fact that if the sloth's moth colony fails to thrive, the sloth will also fail to thrive. He will pass due to starvation 30 days later because he can't digest his food without the bacteria. Now in captivity, he does not need the moths. That is because in captivity nothing is hunting him, so he doesn't need the camouflage. He doesn't need the protein from the moths because he eats hard-boiled eggs 2 a week. He doesn't need the bacteria because for us, what kills our gut bacteria is antibiotics. If we went our whole life without antibiotics, we would never give a second thought to our gut bacteria colony. What interrupts his gut bacteria is cold temperature. If the sloth gets cold, it interrupts his gut bacteria colony and he needs to replenish it. So in captivity, you see that we are always warm in this room and in these other spaces. We never, 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 ever, never let a sloth get cold, and his gut bacteria will last throughout his life. Then the other things we have to do to maintain his gut bacteria properly is maintain his diet. So in the rainforest, they eat about 90% leaf material. Here he eats about 75% leaf material, about 10% veggies, probably 15% veggies, and then 5% eggs and 5% fruit. And if you are going to keep a sloth, you need to be something of a sloth poopologist. So every time that he defecates, we have to examine it. It should look about like deer waste, a bunch of little balls pressed together is how it should look. If it is, no lines or balls in it, that means that he's got too much fruit. It's making it too soft.
Yeah.
So let one serving less fruit next week. He gets 3 servings a week. One fewer servings of fruit the next week. If it is too hard, like the balls fall apart, that means more fruit next week because his gut bacteria colony is low. Now in an emergency situation, you can do the same that they would do with a human or a cow, fecal fauna transportation, that you can take the waste of one sloth, put it into another sloth to replenish its gut bacteria. Because you can't just give them probiotics because it's not sloth bacteria. It's not what they need, it's what we need. So you can't just do that, but there are ways you can do emergency interdiction on a sloth's gut bacteria. So the sloth also is crazy strong. So he's not obviously on a raw level stronger than a human overall. He's much, much smaller than us. They say an orangutan is 7 times stronger than a person. That's a combination of it's a very large animal, and pound for pound is very strong. Pound for pound, this guy's 3 or 4 times as strong as a human is, but he only weighs 15 pounds. He can only be but so strong. So his hanging in the tree, though, is not a matter of strength, it's a matter of design. So when the sloth, as a matter of strength, he can do a 1-arm pull-up by any of his 4 arms and then hang there. But as a matter of remaining there, his tendons are really, really tight. So like when the doctor reattached my bicep, he didn't pull it back up because he said my arm would just be like forever. So the tendons in the sloth's claws are really, really tight. So the sloth, this is his completely relaxed state, and opening his hands like this is his exertion state. So, hey guys, stay here with us for a few minutes. We're about to let Flash go back outside and you can see the way the big guy moves.
Okay.
So his relaxed state is this, his exertion state is that. So if the sloth's life ended hanging in the tree, he wouldn't fall. He would continue to hang there over time until something rotted or until something knocked him out of the tree, because he's exerting no energy at all to hang like that. The sloth has 46 ribs, 23 sets of ribs. So he's built like a truck, and also he has connective tissue that goes all back and forth between his rib cage and all of his individual organs. So the sloth might be vertically upside down like this, he might be horizontally upside down like that, he might be right side up, he might be laying on his side, front or back. So no matter what position he's in, his organs will remain in the proper position and orientation no matter his body position. And for an animal that's going to be upside down for the majority of his life, that's a pretty important thing. Then his stomach has a one-way in the top of it, so food goes in, doesn't go back out. So when he's hanging vertically upside down, that's what keeps his food from leaching back up out of his stomach like he had acid reflux or something like that. So because his vision is super poor as far as seeing particular objects, his sense of smell and his sense of hearing are very heightened. So for better or worse, the sloths know what I smell like, And my monotonous voice might not be the best thing in the whole world for the camera, but the sloths like it just fine. So when I open his door and I say, "Hey, Flash," he just comes right down. And see, Zoe has turned her head around looking for my voice because she's like, "I hear that dude somewhere."
Yep.
Look at her reaching for you there. Don't be startled. So,
You get him in just a minute.
yeah. All right. So let's see the way the big guy moves. So he loves rain, and it is warm enough for him to go outside in the rain. And that is what he is almost certain to do right now. And you guys are welcome to walk into his room and see the way that he goes. Hey, he flashes. He looks like he's missing his head right now, doesn't he?
I know, he's so loosely hanging.
If there's a storm or something, does he pull himself up, or does he always hang?
Seeing him hang all the way down like that actually
That's
is kind of
loose.
rare.
Yeah.
He usually doesn't hang all the way down like that. Usually he's up in a ball.
He's saying
And
good time.
sloths, armadillos, and anteaters are the family Zathorans. Zathorans are mammals with a hinged spine. And so the Zathoran animals all can fold on themselves to one degree or another. Sloths and the three-banded armadillo, more than all the rest, those are the two that make a complete ball. And sometimes he folds in till his head is like, you're like, where does that go?
Your door's open, big boy.
Come on, Flash.
Move out of the way, he was trying to figure out, he was sniffing Zoe, that's for sure.
The armadillo is just making me crack up. So funny. There you go.
Well, he must know something's going on. He's headed that way now.
Hey, Bubba, you want to go outside? So some of our online audience gets the mistaken notion that he lives only in this room on this branch. What a miserable existence that would be. Sometimes people, keyboard warriors, are not aware that he's got his whole big inside area in here that he goes to. But you guys are going to get to see the way that he walks. And he might be quicker than you think that he is. VIP too. Second one VIP.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I believe so.
Excuse You're welcome to walk in here. Flash, the outside's open, buddy. What you doing, dude? I'm very surprised that he goes straight to the rain.
Does he like it out in the water like that?
Yeah, he does. He's a rainforest, I mean, this sloth has never been in the rainforest. Generationally, he's further removed from the rainforest than I am from the Nina, Benton, and Santa Maria. But, his nature is to be a rainforest animal. So in here, he's got his misting jets that are up there in the ceiling. So that's how he gets his rain in the wintertime. In the summertime, he likes to come out here and just hang straight in the rain. But I guess today, he's not into it. But the door will be open all day. He'll go right up and feels like it.
It's a jacket.
Sis, it looks like you're right. I think he's gonna take a nap first.
Maybe I should assist in the napping.
He looks like he could use a hand, right?
Yeah, he might need
Yeah, I
somebody.
might go take a nap too.
Running around.
Hey, see.
All right, let's let them hold Zoe. Hey, if you guys had a good time, we would super much
Absolutely. I
appreciate
got
it.
my
Google.
back.
Perfect. Thanks so
Yeah.
much.
Oh, hey, buddy. What's up? How's it going?
All right, guys.
That is
Flash's
Chelsea.
door here.
The other one, her
Like
size,
close?
and Rosie. And all the other ones are
I
down
take
there.
it the scratches on the bottom of the door are not from Flash.
Yeah. Hi, baby.
Awesome.
All right, you wanna head on in here?
Okay, sure.
She's just more comfortable in her room. And this blue chair is what we call